been with Ciena over 3 years now. Prior to that, I was in Notel, and Ciena obviously acquired Notel. So yeah, in India, I've been 3 years. I've been based out of India for the last 3 years. So I think we've significantly strengthened our business here in India since the Ciena's acquisition of Notel. We've strengthened ourselves in Reliance Group, both in Reliance Communications as well as in Reliance Global. We are the primary supplier for Tata Communications. Nearly 100% of their switching is done by Ciena. And then we've also supplied to Bharti Airtel. So 3 out of 5 top operators who are being served by Ciena. We are the primary supplier. Another major achievement in the last 3 years has been the submarine. We are the lead supplier of submarine for all 3 Indian operators, Reliance Global, Tata and Bharti. We've done over 30,000 kilometers of submarine in the last 2.5 years.
I wouldn't say that there's really a line of demarcation. I'd say some of the rollout of 4G probably started a little bit earlier in North America, and in some cases because the infrastructure was older, a lot of use of PDH and SONET backhaul, say, on the transport networks. It was due for modernization to move to fiber and starting to leverage things like carrier Ethernet. Seeing with the very rapid growth that's happening here in India on mobile services, that same wave is going to happen here. So I wouldn't see that there's fundamental differences, more just there's maybe a time delta of a couple of years in terms of when things are going to be rolling out. It's a very important market for us. So as Ryan said, we've had success in a number of customers here. We're looking to grow that in what we've been able to do for some of the operators in other regions like North America. Over the last few years, we've helped them convert more than 50% of the cell towers are now running on our switching equipment that's doing carrier Ethernet-based backhaul. And that's given them an ability to deal with the rapid growth of bandwidth that's been there, as well as there's been operational savings from it. So I think those same benefits apply very much to the market here and how the operators need to evolve the networks for 4G.
Okay. What's the latest on that technology front? What is happening?
I'd say there are a number of trends that are going on. So obviously just the continual growth in bandwidth is the most obvious one. And we see no end to that. So as primarily video, internet services, cloud services, as the mobile device really becomes a primary device for most people, the bandwidth will continue to grow there. And so you need cost-effective ways to deal with that, since the ARPUs are generally not increasing, so you have to be much more efficient in terms of delivering that bandwidth. We're seeing technology trends in the sense of as we migrate from TDM networks to Ethernet, things like packet timing technologies are used to maintain the synchronization for the base stations. Though we do see that increasingly carriers are interested in building converged networks that run mobile backhaul, business services, and residential services on one infrastructure, because that has a huge OpEx savings for them on using a single infrastructure. So we see more and more it's sort of the same requirements coming out of all the markets, because not only is it on mobile devices or home digital video recorders, it's not just time shifting like we used to have and watch a show when you want. It's also things like place shifting, where you start watching a show maybe at home, then you go on your mobile phone, you continue watching the show there, maybe you go back to the office and watch it during break time as well. So the ability to deal with bandwidth that goes all over the network, it's very unpredictable now, so the networks have to be able to scale to that. And so one of the other areas that we're seeing a lot of interest in, it's still early stages, is also things like SDN, where ways of taking higher level policy and business logic, centralizing that so it's easier to maintain and control, that's a trend that a lot of carriers are interested for, both to get new capabilities in terms of easier changes to the network to deal with new applications, changes in where the bandwidth is going, but also to help simplify, some of the legacy equipment where it might have been very sophisticated technicians who would have to go in and hand configure a node in the network. And so if you can move that into software, centralize some of that, that's a huge advantage as well. So that's something that'll take years to fully roll out, but we see a lot of interest in that as well.
Has there been any clarity on the definition of SDN?
No, there's different opinions. So I think again, you see extremes. There's people that sort of envision everything becoming centralized. That's really not practical. There's certainly real-time things that have to stay on the network elements, but definitely moving the higher level policy in terms of how you manage subscribers, how you manage services, how you do analytics to figure out, where do I need to upgrade the network, how do you do certain classes of very resilient networking. Those are all things that are very well amenable to being centralized. So I think those are where we're going to see some of the first migration, and they're not necessarily new concepts. There's operators that have been doing these things for a number of years, not with the name SDN, but now it's more of a general industry awareness that it's beneficial. So again, I don't think it's going to get to the stage of like you go to an Apple application store and load network apps, but certainly separating out key applications in terms of analytics, resiliency, dealing with bandwidth, hypervisors, etc. Those are areas that we do see that make sense, and we've started doing some product efforts in those areas. So we're taking a lot of the technology that in some cases we might have embedded in network elements as part of the control plane, and we're looking to extract that out and make it available more as a general purpose application on top of the management software. We're also taking things that might have been bundled in with management software, again, to do certain control plane or certain traffic engineering, mesh restoration type services. Again, we're sort of separating that out so the business logic can apply regardless of whether it's an optical network or a layer 1 network or a layer 2 network. You can use those same techniques across them. So it's not necessarily that it's all new technologies, but it's really consolidating them in so that they're layered at the right level and they're usable at that level. So we're in the process of restructuring some of our software and taking advantage of assets that we have and repackaging them in an SDN fashion. And then there's certainly also new technologies that are emerging, like OpenFlow is just another type of standard to manage elements. We're also doing product development activities in that space. So it's a little bit early still to see exactly how the industry will unfold, but the key concepts of taking some of the intelligence which has been buried in various layers and moving it up as an SDN application, that was in line with the plans that we had already for our management software, and then we're now also going to look at how to integrate that with some of the SDN standards. It really depends. We compete in a number of market segments, so between transport, there are certainly competitors there that we would sell against. In the packet world, which is my particular area, certainly the usual suspects of Cisco, Alcatel, Juniper, Huawei are the primary competitors that we see. Sometimes in the access products, there's some smaller companies that we also see, but generally it's those big four that we're almost any customer engagement, one or more of those is who we'd be competing against. Pardon me?
How many employees?
We're about 4,500 employees globally now.
And which part of India is strong? The presence is very strong.
Ryan can probably better address that.
So what is the question again?
Which part of the world you are very strong?
Which part of the world? Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant India specifically. Certainly there's all the public reports, so that's probably the best way to go look at it. But I would say the majority of our business is in North America, but we have significant business in Europe, Middle East, in Latin America region, as well as Asia Pacific.
Pretty strong plans to grow business, because we, like I said, we already in 3 out of 5 leading operators in the country. We have submarine networking with all 3 providers of the country, so we expect pretty strong growth as the market's starting to pick up. It varies from country to country. It's a mixture of direct and channel combination. We have a number of partners. I don't think we state them publicly. We do have some leading partners who work with us on various accounts. Now, most of the tier 1 operators we work directly, but we do use partners in some of our other.
You mean the general economy? Not really my area, but I would say in general, North America is starting to recover, and we're seeing that as an uptick in business activity. I'd say Europe is still a little bit on the slow side. Asia is very heavy investment going on here, so. And I'd say Latin America is also starting to do a lot of investment. So I'd say the lead geographies are more North America, Asia, and Latin America.
Right. So it means that India is still doing well if you compare to.
From a GDP standpoint, yes, of course, compared to some of the other countries, we still have a pretty healthy GDP growth rate. I mean, these are not our expertise, right? So with telecommunications people, so we can of course answer telecommunication related questions.
So are you satisfied with the growth of broadband in India?
Whether I'm satisfied with
it is up to your expectations.
I think we're going through
Is
some.
government doing?
So we're going through again some we're resolving certain issues we have in the country right now, right, in relation to policy. The industry is trying to, trying to, I guess, work through some of those issues, policies, and then some of the mergers, acquisitions, and so on. So I think once those things get settled down over the next, few months, or hopefully, before end of the year, I think we're going to start seeing more investments. Because one thing that hasn't changed is the growth in the bandwidth, right? Our consumers, right? We have 890 million mobile subscribers. They're moving from voice only to data. So that hasn't stopped. The main problem has been, I'm sure you know as much as I do, because of this policy uncertainty, the companies were unable to, were reluctant to make investments. Once I think we get some certainty around that, I think we're going to see the growth back.
But just say in general, we're, as Anup said, we're a leader in the market in North America as well as globally, and I think we brought a lot of value to a number of carrier customers around the world in terms of whether it's sort of state-of-the-art technology, transport, packet networking, whether it's transformation services to take existing legacy networks and modernize them. We've helped a number of customers worldwide do that, and I think we can add a lot of value to customers here as we already are and continue to grow in that business.